This is a Stock Trading Reality Podcast, episode 190.
Those greedy voices in my head started talking and saying, you could do more. Like if you just got around the PDT rule, you could be making more and you can be making more.
This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, where you get to see the realistic side of a trader's journey. Get inspired and stay motivated by everyday normal people who are currently on their journey to trading success. And this is your host. You are what you hear is a concrete belief of his. Clay Trader.
Now, just in case you don't realize it, it's a play on words, right? Maybe you've heard, maybe you haven't, so it's probably good I say this, but you are what you eat. Well, I like to take that and say you are what you hear, meaning if all you hear, because you're surrounded by a bunch of people that think one way, odds are you're going to start to think that way. So whatever way you want to be thinking as a person, whether that's towards trading, whether that's towards life in general, whether that's towards any area of life, surround yourself with people that talk the same way. And that way, you're going to be hearing that, and it's going to help you with that mindset. So, for me, I like to surround myself with people that just want to get stuff done, that don't want to offer up excuses, that are willing to break a sweat, that are willing to just get things done, that aren't playing the victim card. That's who I want to surround myself with. So, sometimes I come across as really rough around the edges, but that's just because I've surrounded myself with a bunch of data points that support my claims and support my viewpoints. And that's where, if you're just surrounded by people that talk about how they just can't get ahead, how this, that, and the other are holding them down, then you're going to start to adapt that same type of mentality. So you really are what you hear. So surround yourself with quality people. And Ches, I would consider you the one outlier person. No, I'm just kidding. Ches is definitely a data point in my favor. And if you've listened to plenty of other episodes, you would realize that too. He's been accused of being a little rough around the edges too, because he's just, I don't want to hear your excuses. I've been here and then I went here, but I kept on pushing and now I'm here. And, that's just kind of the mentality that I want to surround myself. So I want to be surrounded by Cheses, and I surround myself with Cheses because we all think alike, and it's going to keep me thinking in the way that I want to think. Did any of that make sense, Ches?
It did. You're doing a lot better forming sentences and coherent thoughts for this intro, so that's good. You're doing
true.
Good.
That's so true.
I think as I got older, it's probably about after college, I started noticing that I would hang out with a bunch of woe is me type people, and it's just they drag you down. They, at some point, I'm not saying unfriend everybody. Family's family, and some friends are going to be like that. But
exactly,
the whole thing is, I don't. Now where I'm at out here now, I hang out with business owners and people just like you said. They get work done. It's as simple as that. I don't care if it's 98 degrees out. If we have to go dig up a sewer line out back because something's broken, go get the shovels or go get a backhoe. Whatever needs to get done, you get it done. So, yep, I fully agree. I wish I would have known that earlier in my life, but I hope some younger listeners out there do get some value from this.
Yeah, me too. And that's the goal. And even if you're not a younger listener, maybe it's just a matter of kind of who, and to Chez's point, I am also not saying that you just drop everybody and you never talk to them again. Just be aware. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Maybe you shouldn't be surrounding yourself with them as much as what you are. And there's some gray area there, but the overarching theme, you are truly a product of what you hear on a daily basis. So make sure you're hearing the right stuff. As far as our discussion today, I really enjoyed this one because it's basically somebody that has gone through a lot, has learned a lot, and now is just kind of readying himself to start again because of all the things he has learned. It's now kind of, round 2 is about to approach and he's going to start off. And it's basically almost a 2-part interview in the sense of 2-part. We just got to wait several months before he comes back on so he can fill us in on things. But Ches, would you agree that there are all sorts of, because Diego was so candid, there's a bunch of great learning lessons in here that caused Diego to stumble, but that listeners can learn from?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not to say that it's going to help people completely avoid these pitfalls. It's just once you're aware to them, you're going to have a lot more chance in kind of curbing it before, it really takes you down the rabbit hole in terms of blowing up your account or giving up trading or anything like that. So yeah, definitely a bunch of good stuff that Diego noticed from his own journey.
Yeah, and stuff that is 100% applicable to you. None of us are saying it's going to turn you into a millionaire, but like Jess said, by just being aware of it, you can kind of mitigate against the risks that are involved with it, and ideally make your journey a little bit more efficient. So with that being said, let's get to it with Diego. Diego, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Good to have you here. And you took some time off of work. Did I understand that right?
Yeah, I'm in the West Coast, so it's only 10 o'clock here, but I'm very fortunate to have a job that I can schedule my own appointments. So I had this next 2 hours blocked off.
Well, time zone is irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. I really see, to listeners out there, this is how great our community really is. Diego literally blocked off some time in his. Can we talk about your profession? Is it what your alias name suggested is?
No, not at all.
You're not a doctor?
I'm not a doctor.
Okay, all right. Well, you little liar. No, I'm just kidding.
Wink, wink. He's not a doctor, don't worry.
Well,
Okay,
my initial spell out is DR, so that's how I got the doctor.
Gotcha.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is. All right. So, but regardless, I'm not even trying to be funny, and I'll speak for Ches here too, but yeah, thank you very much for literally blocking off some time in your schedule away from work so that we could have what will hopefully be a productive conversation, which I'm very confident it will be. With that being said, you've listened to past episodes. You know what questions coming your way here, but where did this whole journey start for you in terms of hearing about the market, and then what all kind of played out that caused you to say, I think I want to get a little bit more active. I want to get a little bit more hands-on with this thing they call the market. So I'll let you take it from the start.
Yeah, so August of last year was when I started dabbling into the market, as far as, because I honestly never even heard, I've heard of stocks, but I've never was interested. I never even thought about pursuing it. I've never even, I didn't know what made the prices go up, what made the prices go down. Never knew how that worked. I just knew the horror stories of people losing a lot of money playing the stocks. And that's what I thought it was, playing, gambling and stuff like that. So it wasn't until August where I got some money and from my job as a commission. It was a bigger commission check that I had planned. And initially we were just supposed to have it in savings because we want to do real estate investment. And
who is we? You and your
me
wife?
and my wife.
Or? Okay.
Yeah. So I had that money in savings, but I'm like, I wish we can, because it wasn't enough for a down payment or anything. But I'm like, I wish I could do something with this money to kind of just make it grow over time. And so I did my research, and that's how I came across the stock market, YouTube videos.
Okay. So, and every time I hear this about YouTube videos, I feel like, and Clay, correct me if you've ever seen this, anybody's initial Google search or YouTube search in the stock market rarely leads to, here's a slow and steady passive investor talking about how he's, invested for the past 50 years. More often than not, I find, and, correct me if I'm wrong, Diego, that what you find immediately on YouTube is, look at me, I made $9,000 in 7 minutes. So, haha, you guys suck and look at my great life. So, I mean, what kind of experience, what kind of videos did you find right out the gate from YouTube?
The first one was turn $1,000 to $8,000 in 1 month.
There you go. Exactly my point.
Stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
what is that,
obviously,
700% return? Nice.
Right?
Easy.
So obviously that kind of piqued my interest. I'm skeptical though. So those videos, I'm like, that I know that's like a very, very small percentage of people that probably can get to that point. So I was looking for just something more real than that. I'm like, I don't want 700%. I just want like, a 10% return. Because I feel like, that's more realistic. But
all right, let me cut you off there because there's a great thing that you just said, and which brings up a good talking point. So we'll circle back, but I feel like you made a comment that there's sure that 700%. I'm sure there's some people that can do that, and that is accurate. So I'm not saying you're wrong, but I want to add a little bit more context to that. Is yes, that is possible to take 1,000 to 8,000, 1,000 to 10,000 in 1 month. But in order to do that, you are required to basically act, especially when you're new, right? Because that's who those people are trying to, bring in. You are required to act like a reckless gambler. I mean, you could theoretically put $1,000 into something. I mean, but I mean, if you stop and think about it, especially if you're just starting with $1,000, well, there's bad habit number one. You're going all in. But regardless, you are going to be taking big old leaps that are essentially gambles. So sure, those things, and that's where there's lots of gray, because those people, technically speaking, aren't lying, because yes, that is possible. But what they leave out is the habits, the behaviors that would be required in order to accomplish that are just going to build up bad habits for the long run, where eventually you're going to get, bit and bit pretty hard. I mean, but good for you. I'm glad you're skeptical, and we'll see where it's taking you, and you want to be more realistic. But just for listeners out there, realize that sure, all that stuff, we're not saying is impossible. We're just talking about the underlying habits that would be built and kind of fortified. Because if you do bad habits, but they all work, well, then to the new person, why would you consider those bad habits? Because they just worked. Well, you figure out they're bad habits when it's too late, when, there went all my gains plus some of my original principle. Yeah, I guess those were kind of bad habits, and it's too late at that point. So sorry to cut you off there, but that was a good little comment there that opened up a rabbit hole of just adding a little bit more context. So I'm glad to hear that you're skeptical, and I'm glad to hear that you weren't some greedy savage that actually wanted to make 700% in 1 month. So you wanted to keep things more realistic, so I'll let you pick it up from there.
Well, let's go through my story before you tell me I'm not greedy. But
well, okay, at that exact point, you weren't a total going into it. It didn't sound like you were a greedy savage, because some people are like, I want 700% like now. But I'm not saying things don't turn greedy, but at least you didn't go into it flat out with that mindset at first.
We'll see what the voices in his head say.
Yes. So I got the money. I did tell myself, okay, so I'm going to take $1,000 and put it into one account, which is SureTrader. I don't know if we can say names here, but I did put that aside to one account. But then I had my real one where I was going to invest all my time into. The 1,000, if I made a great return, great. If it was all gone, I already put in my mind that it was going to be all gone, but I figured risk to reward. And during all of this, I didn't even plan or even think about educating myself. I just saw all the free material I had online, was just, taking that in and saying, oh, this is pretty easy. Just look for that, look for this. And then we should be good to go,
Yeah, you definitely answered my question right there. So I was going to say, so you found a broker, which is as we know, a quite offshore broker at this point.
Yes.
I was just wondering, I was like, what made you think that you were ready to trade? But obviously you watched some videos and thought, hey, I can give this a whirl. So alrighty, you got your fun account, you got a serious account. I'm just happy you made the distinction from the get-go that essentially this one account can be possibly an entire write-off, and I can still keep the lights on and put gas in my car.
Exactly. So the whole point wasn't to lose this my commission check. The whole point was to grow it over time. I was thinking maybe the 1,000 got me 1,500 by the end of the, or 2,000 or something. And then my other one was slowly building up. But anyway, I went into it blind, kind of blind, because a lot of free resources give you the Kool-Aid, which makes you think that, you're going in thinking you're educated when you're not really educated. So this was in August of 2017. I lost that $1,000 account in 2 weeks.
Well, there you go. Were you, since you live on the West Coast, were you just trading kind of the beginning of the day before you started work?
Yeah, I'd wake up at 5:30, grab a cup of coffee, and just check out, what the stocks were doing and listening.
So what were you doing to find stocks that were moving that day? Were you just using StockTwits or some other Twitter or something like that?
So no, I honestly used the searching tool in Thinkorswim, and I was seeing what got the most pre-market action for stocks that were under like $3, or they were over $3, under $10. And with the broker that I had, allowed me to borrow 6 times what I had. So I had plenty of money to play with, I guess you can say. It just it didn't work out the way I thought it was going to.
I want to kind of dig into a little comment you made, just because it piqued my curiosity. But the videos gave you the Kool-Aid that made you think that you were actually kind of prepared, that made you think you were actually educated and ready to go. What exactly were those? I mean, did those videos just map out, hey, follow me, or do this and then you do that? And I mean, how do these videos give you that impression? I mean, it sounded like you were actually pretty confident going into it, but I'm curious, just kind of what that Kool-Aid actually consisted of.
It was all the videos I watched were successful videos. They showed you what could happen if you win, and I'm like, cool. Like, I'm pretty sure I can duplicate what they're doing. And I went into the whole analytical side of technical analysis with the free videos of, watching for certain patterns and checking, morning stars or hammers and stuff like that. And I never wrote any of this down. I just was just like, okay, I can remember that. But no one, they didn't teach you how to take a loss. So that was my biggest thing.
Did they ever show losses?
From what I can remember, all the videos I watched was, look at this 200% return, look at this 300% return. And either it was technical analysis where it just showed you what to look for, or it was successful videos. I didn't even bother to think about the disasters that could happen. I didn't even try to look for that. But again, going into it, I'm like, okay, this is going to be my quote unquote gambling account. I'm going to see if it works. If not, then, I'll try to find something else with the rest of the money that I had with a different broker.
That's, first off, I don't think it all makes sense why your thought process was the way it was, because that is some powerful Kool-Aid if all you're watching are videos where sure, they're showing you technical setups, but when every single technical setup seems to be yielding awesome results, then things get distorted very quickly in terms of how charts actually work, how you're supposed to properly use them, and then just kind of what your mindset going is. So I mean, I get it. That makes just perfect, crystal clear sense on why you thought you were way more along and way more advanced than you probably actually were. Now, you said that the money was gone in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So what exactly? I mean, you said you were. Go ahead.
Sorry. It's not that I was doing bad. It's the commissions. I was either breaking even, or I was taking losses, taking wins, breaking even. But even on my wins, I would come out with losses because of the commission rates. And if I had one big loss, that plus the commissions, that would like take a big chunk of my account away. Even if I had a small win and then it turned out to be break even or even losing money, I guess that concept never really like, oh, look, I took a win. Let's just keep this going. And by the end of it, I'm like, oh, wait, after commissions, I'm not really doing that well.
Ches, I want to hand this over to you real quick because I'm having a case of deja vu with SureTrader and commissions. But for you listeners out there, do we recommend SureTrader like many other people do? Sure, we could start to collect affiliate money by recommending it. But did you just hear what Diego said? And then, Ches, I want to hand this over to you. This was pretty much what your experience too with SureTrader was, right? Just commissions all over the place, fees all over the place.
This was, the exact experience I had when I was trying to day trade in the morning before work using SureTrader, and same exact boat. You kind of, oh, cool, this is a pretty cheap stock. I'm going to buy 10,000 shares of it. And then you realize what your per share rate was, or the flat fee on top of that to, trade an OTC or whatever it is you're trading. And they nickel and dime you in such, but everyone who's generally going to SureTrader, they're going there for a reason. They want to be able to day trade or have access to, 6 times the amount of capital they have. So they kind of almost, I think, personally turn a blind eye to it because the information's there, but it's not until you really put that trade on and realize, oh, wow, look, I made $100. Oh, my commission was 95. Like, yikes. That's, that was the exact experience I had when I was at SureTrader.
What did your commissions look like, Diego? I mean, can you give us like a theoretical, I made, like in Chez's example, I made $100, but my commissions were, just to give listeners an idea of how these commissions were working against you.
Yeah. So with SureTrader, they charge you per trade, in that I wasn't paying attention to that. So I would do small trades, and SureTrader is the worst if you're just doing a bunch of small trades. And so I would make $100, but with like 3 trades, I would make $100. And then each time I would get dinged $50.
Yikes.
Yeah. So I'm over here thinking, oh, look, I made $100, but then I'm like, oh, I lost $50 in commissions.
Yeah. And
so
you
that's
said
how
you
it
had
looked
that
like to me.
account. That account lasted what, a month? You said
2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously, I would assume that did this leave a sour taste in your mouth for trading in general, or were you just like, sure, traders kind of crap, or what's your mentality after this? Because I mean, granted, you kind of went into it not expecting to lose the money, but if it happened, it happened.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, how are you feeling after all that?
At that point, I'm like, okay, I need to either take this more seriously, get some education going. At this point, it left a little bad taste in my mouth as far as, but it was more like, oh, just the commissions. If I didn't have the commissions, obviously in my head, I'm still thinking it's not me. It's the commissions. If it wasn't for the commissions, I could have done pretty decent, or at least it would have lasted a little bit longer. So that's what's going on through my head at that time.
Gotcha. And so the small account's gone. So now you're going to focus on that more growth oriented account you have.
Yes.
Gotcha. So where did you start to use that, and what were you doing? How'd it go?
Yeah. So October/November, I found Clay's videos, and I guess like many other people in the podcast, I just enjoyed it because they weren't trying to feed you that every win could be a great win type feeling. It was more realistic in my sense. I'm like, okay, this seems like a cool guy, and that's when I think I joined the inner circle. But I my mindset was still, well, I joined an inner circle, and then all the call outs, I'll just I won't even do that much research. I still know my technical analysis kind of. If they make a call out, everyone's on it. I'll just be on the lookout for call outs at this point.
And so you're in the community now. You
Yes.
got the access to the alert rooms. And here's the thing, though, for listeners out there as well. A majority of the day, we spend kind of looking at intraday setups. However, there's absolutely swing trade setups and opportunities talked about in both the trading pits and the trading lounge. So obviously, I know that this is a different account and you're trying to treat it a different way than your SureTrader account. But how are you utilizing the alerts at this time? Because for the most part, unless you're specifically talking to somebody about, the daily candle or something like that, more of that stuff is kind of intraday trading.
Yeah, and that's what I was looking for. I didn't have enough money to get around the PDT rule. So at this point, I was trading. I was only making 3 trades a week. So that only lasted a few weeks. Because then I got impatient.
And what did this impatience lead to then? Because that's impatience, totally understandable. I mean, that's why I won't go off on my government rant about hand-holding and the pattern day trading rule, but I 100% understand the impatience because of that stupid rule. But in your case, it always kind of pushes people down different paths. So what path did the impatience push you down?
So if I'm totally honest, the 3 trades I was actually growing my account at a fairly decent rate. It's just those greedy voices in my head started talking and saying you could do more. Like if you just got around the PDT rule, you could be making more and you can be making more. I was probably growing my account. Maybe, I'm just going to start. I'll use a number. I mean, I had 7,000 in my TD Ameritrade account. And I was probably growing it $50-$60 a week, which in my mind it should have been good, but look,
those
when I was
voices
at the moment, I'm like, this is too small.
Too small based on, and maybe you don't have an answer to this because I realize the voices in our head are kind of just random, but too small based on, were you looking to pay some sort of, for example, I'm just making this up, but me and my wife, we need a new washer and dryer, and this washer and dryer costs, let's just say $1,000. Well, if I'm only making $50 a week or $60 a week, and then you start doing the math, you're like, well, it's going to take us forever to get this washer and dryer. Did you have some sort of goal that you were set up that made you think that this number wasn't good enough, or is it just totally randomness? I mean, but I like to try to figure out what maybe the root cause of some of these issues are, because you're not alone, but I mean, maybe we can all learn something about how sneaky these voices can be.
Yeah. I mean, obviously this is a savings account. The goal of the savings account and to grow the money was to get into real estate investments. And that, I guess the impatience of that, we didn't need anything. I mean, with the job that I have now, I can pay my bills, and put a little bit to savings. But with this check coming in, you know, I'm like, okay, I want to get serious about real estate, either flipping or buying an investment property. And let's just start growing this bad boy. And that's after that, after a while of, you know, waiting, I'm like, okay, I want to just get more. I just want to speed this process up. So it was random.
No, I don't think it was random. I think we nailed it. Is your goal within the goal was to get into real estate investing, right?
Yes.
So this account was just a means to get to the real estate investing. Is that still accurate?
Yes.
So it sounds like to me you have this overarching. And are you in California? You said West Coast, but you.
Yeah, California.
Okay, so I don't know. California real estate investing, I think, or real estate prices, they're just high regardless of where you live in the state.
No, yeah, we weren't looking in California. We were.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, what sort of price range? What was the number that you needed to get to in order for you to get into the real estate investing?
Well, my wife's from Michigan. I think you're from Michigan as well.
I am. Where is she from in Michigan?
Upper Peninsula, Marquette.
Oh, okay. That's basically Canada.
Nice.
That's
awesome up there.
Yeah, I've heard it's really nice. But okay,
Yeah.
so you guys were looking for Michigan then, maybe?
Yeah. So there was. We've been looking up there. Just, you know, she's from the area. Her whole family's over there. So if we were to buy a rental property, you know, they'd be able to manage it for us. Or if we wanted to buy a property and flip it, her dad is really good with just construction. So we thought, you know, if we do anything, it'll be up there. Prices are fairly cheap compared to here.
That is
but
accurate.
Our price point, what was that?
I said that is accurate. Michigan real estate definitely a little bit different monster than California.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So up there, we probably were looking for the total price between 60 and 90,000.
Okay. So that's perfect. That I think that this illustrates what actually happened, where these voices came from. Is you had your number on 60 to 90 because you have this goal to get into real estate, and this trading account is just kind of the bridge to close that gap. And the bridge was growing; it just wasn't growing fast enough to get you to the other side where you could start real estate investing. So I'm guessing that's where those voices, because you said it yourself, you just didn't feel like it was growing quick enough, which brings up the question, well, quick enough, why do you care about speed? Well, because you have this other goal of real estate investing. So this, and I'll, you know, my little rant here, and we talk about it all the time, one of the cruel ironies of the market, because we're always brought up, and it's true, you want to have goals, and you want to, you know, a goal is kind of just a pipe dream unless you have a process to get there. So far, Diego's doing great. He set a goal. He's put in a process in place to get there, you know, this trading account. But within the world of trading, it's a catch-22 because as we just witnessed, it sounds like you just weren't fast. You weren't happy enough with the speed at which that bridge was being built. But the lack of speed is what caused these greed voices to come into play. And I'm assuming things started to go downhill from. Does that make sense, Diego? Would you agree at least with my overall premise of where it sounds like these voices came from?
You are spot on. I was impatient. I wanted to get to my goal faster. That's
it's so cruel though. I mean, it's not like you're sitting there like, I have no goals in life. I mean, because there's nothing worse than, I think the worst is somebody has a goal and they're like, oh yeah, how are you going to get there? And they're like, well, I don't know. I mean, you even knew how to get to that goal, but Ches, the market, it's so tricky from a mental perspective, isn't it? I mean, trader goals, it's almost totally counterproductive.
Yeah, and it's all the other things in your life will manifest itself into kind of your outlook in the market. And yeah, it's cruel. It really is cruel.
Yeah. So, all right. So you're not happy with the voice, or you're not happy with the rate at which the gains are going. You get, you know, the greed voices show up. So where did that lead you then?
So just to preface it also, I was paper trading on my downtime because I only had 3 days, or I only had 3 trades, right? So every trade had to be meticulous. I didn't want to take too much risk on this account. So when I was paper trading, I did not mirror what I was doing in real life. And I was, I matched my account, but I wasn't following the PDT rule on my paper trading account. I was like, okay, I'm going to take more risk and see what happens. And that was feeding into my Kool-Aid tank, because my when I got into a trade was better than it should have been. Getting out of the trade was better than it should have been. Pouring into my Kool-Aid tank as far as
and when in reality, half of those trades you wouldn't have been able to make because you had 3 trades per week that you were supposed to use, and just kind of inflating your head and inflating your ego a little bit, right?
Exactly. So this whole time I'm thinking, what can I do to get around this PD2 rule? And I found out about contracts, about trading on a cash account with contracts. Fairly cheap or fairly inexpensive to buy a contract, and they definitely can get you a lot of money. Like you guys said, it's penny stocks on steroids. So
options contracts you're talking about, right?
Yeah, sorry, options contracts. But I didn't want to get into it right away because I wanted to educate myself. I believe I bought your options course by this point to kind of get myself familiar with options contract trading. And this was in January. And this is before when the market or the stocks were just going up and up and up and up. Never even experienced a crazy
no
crazy
corrections
day
at all.
like
Not
February.
any dip at all. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it was the end of January or beginning of February. But that, yeah. So I was just, this is just going to keep going up. Market's pretty stable.
All right. So riddle me this too, because obviously you understand the power of options and how you can use it to essentially avoid PDT just with kind of the way rules and everything is structured.
Yes.
Were you practicing by looking at, say, the options chain and writing down, say, your entry or your exit, or were you just using the chart still at this point and pretty much honing your technical analysis and risk management?
Well, Thinkorswim has you can paper trade contracts or option contracts.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I forgot about that. Good.
I would never recommend it because it fills you at the best possible spot and it takes you out at the best possible spot.
Yep, we've definitely talked about that a couple times on this podcast because I was like, yeah, I'm doing so great. I get the best fills. I get best mid fills on like trading Google. That's $5 wide, and yeah, and then oh wow, look at that cool fast scalp. And then in reality, it's a ghost town if you're trading liquid contracts that are super wide. So yep, definitely heed Diego's warning for that if you are going to use toss to paper trade.
Yes. So every time I would try to get out of a trade, it would fill me instantly, and I thought, hey, I can probably do this, and prices don't jump up too crazy right now, so everything's going to be fine. Even if it doesn't go my way, I can just get out really quick. So the whole February thing happened where everything just started going down. Okay, so I started, let me see, I'm trying to think back to see when I actually started live trading.
It sounds like it was during this downwards period. Somewhere in there is when you started with live money.
Yeah, so I started with live money probably a couple days before the big crash happened. Not the big
perfect
crash.
Timing.
Yeah,
I love how that happens.
And like I said, I've never been a part of any markets. I've never really looked into the history of stock markets. I never experience anything that I was about to experience. But I started live trading. I think I made like $100 the first week I live traded. And then the second week is when everything happened. And every trade started going against me. I'm like, oh, this is just a dip. It's going to come back up. And then I started feeding into myself. Oh, it'll come back up. It can't possibly go down even more. And just started. This is when I finally realized I don't really have a good sense of technical analysis, is when this crash happened.
That's it's funny, or I mean, it makes sense why I would say that, because you said in passing, I was going to rudely cut you off again, but I decided to mind my manners. But When you said you had joined the room, you're like, yeah. So I joined the room. I was kind of understood technical analysis, and you just kept breezing on with your statement. But I mean, it was funny to hear you explain, and subconsciously, you clearly knew that at that point. I mean, of course, you have hindsight now, but I mean, looking back, it's, when you show up and I kind of know technical analysis, but it took the crash to make you realize that the kind of existed within your thought process, and it was just, and you're not alone in that at all. We see it all the time, but it's amazing how many people think like where you are now looking back, isn't it? And I was the same way. So I'm not saying this in the sense of, you're some just really arrogant person, but isn't it extremely arrogant? Isn't it extremely just cocky to think that kind of knowing something is going to be good enough? I mean, knowing what you know now, isn't that, wouldn't you say that's one of the more arrogant attitudes, you could have is, I kind of know that'll be good enough. I'm going to still go with it. I mean, that's insane, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's my personality. I've always been the guy to wing it. Like I'm just going to wing it. I'm going to, do some research, and then I'll be able to pick it up after a little bit. Obviously looking back at it now, that's not the right mindset when it comes to the stock market.
Right. And honestly, I could use a little bit more winging it in my personality, because in most places in life, if you're like, you know what, I'm just going to wing it. I'm just going to get out there and I'll figure out and make it happen. It usually does work, but the problem with the stock market is it depends on a finite resource called cash, and you can only wing it for so long before the market's like, yep, and there's your last penny. Thanks for trying to wing it.
It's not like if you want to go wing basketball, you only have 10 basketballs, and hopefully you're not throwing them onto the highway or something, and then you have no basketballs. But generally, you can keep trying and trying and trying and trying, and you can still get up the next day and keep doing it. But that finite thing called cash, that's once it's gone, it's kind of gone until you get it another way.
Yeah, and I don't know how that was a great analogy, by the way, Ches. I may have to plagiarize that one here on out.
Go for it.
Yeah, basketballs. It's not like you only have 10 basketballs. It's so Diego, I like your little comments that lead me off on tangents, but hopefully these tangents make sense, because and I was the same way. I was just like, that's good enough. And now in hindsight, it's like, I can't believe I was so cocky. I was so arrogant to think that good enough is actually good enough to make it in the market, because it's not. I mean, you need to have a full understanding of things. So winging it just didn't work. And when the downturn happened, were these basically positions that you were selling for essentially nothing, or were you letting contracts expire worthless? Like, how bad actually was it when all these downturns was occurring?
I've never let anything. I never let a contract expire. I always try to salvage what I can. But I don't know. What was the question again?
I have no idea what the question was, to be honest. It was something about...
I think you were asking if his contracts are just going to max loss, losing everything. And
yeah. But earlier on, it was because you had mentioned that you finally determined, because of all these losses, that you didn't really know what technical analysis was. You didn't have a firm grasp on it. And then that's when I circled back to your kind of comment, which spun off into oblivion with all this other stuff. But so you take all these losses, and then you finally admit to yourself, okay, I really don't know technical analysis as much as I apparently thought I did. So where did you go from that point then? So
obviously, I lost 20% of my account at this point, 1 month after I started trading live. At that point, when I realized that I didn't really know what technical analysis really was, that's when I told myself, you know what, I'm just going to buy CTU. Buy CTU instead of, because with that 20%, I could have bought CTU in the first place. So I'm like, I'm not going to be losing another 20%. So I bought CTU, and I told myself I'd give myself 6 months to just dive into your videos. And
there's that time frame, Clay, but at least he's using it for his education, not I need to be live at this date, or unless you were. But there's that 6 month figure. It comes back all the time.
Well, I wish I would have taken the 6 months.
Oh, okay. All right. So here we go.
Reverse. I thought, okay, this usually not what we hear then. So, well, I'm telling you, I know what it is. You want to get to that real estate goal so bad. I guess I don't know, but that's where I'm gonna put my chips on that. Thing that was probably going on underneath the surface. Is your voices were like, come on, man, let's get to real estate.
this whole journey was just honestly self-discovery. It was revealing who I really was deep inside, I feel. Um, it was just that it was greedy and patience. Like I said, I told myself, so I'll give myself 6 months to do this, and 3 weeks later I'm live trading again.
Okay, I don't mean to laugh. I just laugh because I totally relate. Like, I get it. I understand. But how, I mean, did you at least get through the robotic trading course? What were you able to accomplish in that 3 weeks that made you all of a sudden think that you were ready to go again?
Yeah, so I took robotics training, and I actually got my notebook out and started writing everything down. I'm like, okay, if I wrote everything down, it would, be in my memory a little bit longer than if I just was winging it, listening to your podcast. I'd listen to it every night, and you can probably talk to my wife. She probably hates your voice, but I'd listen to it.
Mine got annoyed with Clay's too. Yep.
Hey, screw all you guys.
I listened to it every night, on my lunch breaks at work, on my downtime at work, just jotting things down. Got through robotic trading, got through the all the other courses with all the techniques that you had, the volcano trading, and I'm already forgetting the other one. The trampoline trading,
shorting for profit. Yeah, and you got through all of these in 3 weeks.
I got through those three in 3 weeks.
Gotcha. Okay,
I was just on it day and night.
Yeah. So how many hours per day were you getting in?
Let's see. I'd probably get home around 5, and probably around 9 o'clock was when my wife would start yelling at me. So 4 hours a night, and then throughout the day, probably another 2 to 3 hours.
There you go. That's kind of like me. Once I started going down the education rabbit hole, I just couldn't get enough. However, it's personally for me, I was doing way too much. I was also, 4+ hours, and you're just not retaining it. But that was me personally.
I was rushing it to get live trading again. I mean,
and my question to you, go ahead, Diego.
I was just gonna say it wasn't to fully invest myself in the education. It was, let me just get more information so I can start trading again.
Now, did you watch because when you buy Clay Trader University, there's an intro video on the homepage where I walk you through an order of courses. Did you watch that video?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you watched it, but apparently you didn't really go through the necessary steps, because it sounds like you went from robotic trading to trampoline and volcano trading. Is that?
Did you do RVR trading?
I did. So
okay.
Obviously this was in March, and then as we go through the story, because it's been a while since I've looked at the videos, and then I'll tell you where I'm at now. But
the 3-week period, you went from robotic to then volcano and trampoline. Is that correct?
Let me look up the.
Because that's a pretty big jump, and even if you did go through those other ones, I mean, 3 weeks, that would have been just absolutely.
No, yeah, I mean, I don't know how. Basically, I don't know how you could retain any of that information in the. I think I was tricking myself, as far as what I thought I can remember by just writing things down.
You were tricking yourself. You were. I promise. Ches can definitely speak to this too, because you guys were like the information consumption people. But right, Ches? You can only consume so much, no matter how bad you want it. I mean, that's why
that's that ambition thing again. Yep.
So I get. Moral of the story is you rushed. You nailed it, and it sounds like you were just too ambitious, and then the voice in your head made you think you knew that more than what you actually did. So you start going after 3 weeks, and then how did things go from there?
So let me go back. So I flew through robotics training because everything that you talked about, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember listening to that on another video. So I guess I didn't give it its my full 100% try to listening to the robotics trading. RVR is the biggest one that I took away with it. That was a really good one for me, because when I got back from the 3 weeks, that's what I did. I came up with plans, the way the RVR told you to do. I used the calculator. The night before, I had my plan set for the next day, and the only issue with options contract trading is, at least for me, was it doesn't correlate with the price of the underlying. So I'm over here, waiting for the price of the underlying to go down a certain point, but that wait time is diminishing the value of the contract that I'm trading. And then when I got back to a certain point, it wasn't even worth what it was when I first bought it. And there was a lot of trades like that where I didn't take, I think it's Theta into account.
And that's an extremely important thing for options trading. Is a lot of the time using the underlying, you need to be very, very conscious of what your theta is, how far your expiration's out. There's definitely more nuances. It's great that you can avoid PDT with it, but there's definitely some nuances that can get you in trouble. And theta is definitely one of those if you're trading from the long side.
Yeah. So basically another 2 weeks went by, and then that's when I lost another 25% of my account. And every loss I took, I was just justify it. I would be like, okay, I just need to do this better. I need to do that better. If I would have done this, if I would have done that. But at the end of the day, I think I just realized that I never really gave it a go. Gave it a go on the education, gave it a go. And the other thing, you released a video probably a couple of months after I stopped trading of what type of trader are successful traders. And every time I got into a trade, it just felt like I just had a high of the closest thing I can compare it to is gambling. I mean, I don't gamble, but the few times I have gambled, I would get this sense, the sense of this could be great. This could be great. Just, keep it going type feeling. So
yep, that's that whole hope thing. It's cruel. It's cruel in the market. So obviously, did you say you had recognized now that you had kind of taken your education a bit fast? You're seeing things that are missing in the puzzle. Am I right in saying that?
Yes. So looking back at it now, I wish I would have just took a step back, not be so impatient. Because again, I didn't need this money right now. It was supposed to sit there, get a good return in investment, and just wait for a good opportunity to come by. And with that price, at that price point, we could have easily got something with what I initially had.
So you had mentioned you stopped trading. Was that after you lost 25% more of your account?
Yeah, so after that, I just went cold turkey. I would still be in the chat and looking, but I told myself I'm not trading. One, I'm not trading options contract anymore. I'm just traumatized by it. To be honest, I don't want to get into that. I'd rather know what the stock is worth, and I get at a certain point, get in at a certain point. If it doesn't hit my price point, oh well. It's more straightforward with me. And then, because the plans I had set up, they were pretty solid. Going back after going cold turkey, if I would have just played the stock for the stock, most of my plans would have made me money. It's just playing the options contract where you have the stock or the underlying at a certain price, you have the contract at a different price, and then you don't know when to get out really because it hasn't hit your underlying get out point. And then by the time it does, it's already lost a lot of value.
My question to you is, you bring up the word it traumatized you. Have you looked into the advanced option trading course?
I have.
You have. And yes. I mean, because that course basically flips around the equation and makes the trauma work for you in a sense. But you didn't feel comfortable with that, or what?
As soon as I got into,
unless I'm skipping ahead, or are you trading options now from an advanced perspective?
As soon as I got into a trade, I would basically forget everything I learned and ride the high of being in a trade. Just have that hope that it's going to go up, and that's why I decided to cut cold turkey, because I realized that my personality, the way that I approach things, I didn't do it emotionless. Every trade had emotion in it. My heart would be pounding, there's a lot of trades where I was up $400 on, 5 contracts. And then I'm like, sweet, I'm just going to lay these right out until let's say it gets down to $300. At that point, I wasn't even looking at the underline. Everything I learned just threw it out the window, and then that trade ended up being like minus 200. So
So from okay, by using essentially what you learned, it sounded like you would get gains, but then for whatever reason, everything would go out the window from that point because you just would want more, and then
yes.
you had some of these that went from plus 400 to negative. So you basically had a $600 swing on that that trade.
Yeah, and then there was one of my biggest wins was when there was a day where Thinkorswim crashed and everybody had a problem. Like the servers were down, and I was stuck in a trade. And by the grace of God, it just came out $200 on top. I don't know what happened. I called the desk and everyone was complaining. They said we have a lot of people calling in right now. And then, so yeah, one of my biggest wins wasn't even planned. It was just an accident, which goes to show how good of a trader I was.
There is definitely some irony in that, but it sounds, it's just a matter of you needing to, kick those highs to the curb. But
yeah,
you said you have taken the advanced options trading course.
I have.
Okay, but you don't have any interest in trading from that perspective?
That's, yeah. I mean, as far as
because you took it, that Theta actually works for you in that situation. So yes. I mean, because the problem that was traumatizing you could actually leverage that in your favor via the swing trading advanced options. But
as far as like selling contracts,
correct, yeah, exactly.
So my broker didn't allow me to sell contracts. I think you can only sell contracts on margin, if I'm not mistaken.
You do need margin for that. That's correct.
Yeah. So the only thing I could do is buy contracts and then sell. I can only sell them if I have them.
If you had the shares, sure. Gotcha.
Right. So I was going to say, let me skip ahead because maybe we're going over bridges that need to be go. What are you trading actively right now?
So no, my goal right now, I'm focused on the only ticker symbol that gets me money is my JOB.
Perfect. No problems there.
Yeah. So if I'm have my savings account,
can I make a suggestion then to you?
Yeah.
Or let me ask you this, and you can take it or leave it. Are you just full blown set on wanting to day trade? Is that like just the thing that you think you're only going to be happy with is day trading?
No, I don't think my personality can handle day trading. I think I'm more of a swing trader.
Okay, so here's my counter, not to cut you off, but sorry, that's my engineering. Let's just efficient process. Okay, so you just acknowledge that you don't care about, you're not built for day trading. Fair enough. Is that correct so far?
That's correct.
So why did you get the cash account in the first place? So you could what?
Well, initially I wanted to day trade.
Exactly.
Yes.
But right now, it sounds like you have good chart vision and your things would have worked had Theta been in your favor.
Yes.
So why not just get a margin account now, because you don't care about day trading anyways, and now start to make Theta work for you and potentially look into the swing trading from the advanced options route. Did I miss something? Or because it sounds to me like the cash account thing doesn't really matter anymore since you just admitted that day trading isn't fitting your mindset.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the bad taste in my mouth kind of set me aside from the looking at the stocks and seeing where everything was at. At this point, my goal was to actually get about 30,000 to get around the PDT rule. But if I guess that's my other thing is I still want to day trade, even though I'm not built for it, or I don't know if I'm convincing myself that I can get around my emotion or if that's just going to be a part of me no matter what. But the goal I had now was to save up.
From an outsider listening in, from just observing the way you've talked, it sounds like you would actually be a good swing trader with advanced options because, and Ches, feel free to pipe in too, but you were identifying good setups, but just the way options and the Greeks work, Theta was screwing up your setups. Whereas if you moved over to the other type of options, everything would be working in your favor because Theta would now be actually helping you out as opposed to hurting you like it was. And I think you nailed it, though. It sounds like somewhere there's a mental battle going on where you still think you can do a day trading, even though you just admitted that you're not built for it. There's clearly something still in your mind that's trying to convince you that you can be built for it. Because it wouldn't make sense why you wouldn't want to try advanced options trading, because you're right, you do need margin, which takes away the whole advantage of being able to day trade.
Yeah.
So there's definitely sounds like a seesaw of mental battle going on right now, and it all starts with, well, do you really want to do day trading, or do you just, or can you actually do day trading, or do you just think you can do day trading? Because that's all going to depend on. I would vote for you should really try advanced options trading. I mean, Chez, do you have any thoughts on this dialogue here?
Well, especially if you believe that you are good in terms of your directional prowess, and remember, you're going to have to widen out your time frame if you do it. If you have a theory of you think it's going to go up or going to go down, you can construct a lot of great options plays that are either super aggressive or about as little as aggressive as possible, in terms of, say, you want the stock to go up, but you're going to have a buffer. Say you want it to go above $100. You might not be wrong, though. You could set up the trade where it could go all the way down to 95 and you'll still make money on the trade. So that's, even when you're directionally wrong, that's why I love advanced options. Is sure, I had a theory going into this trade, but I still have a buffer to essentially still be wrong, and there's ways to kind of manage it. But yeah, I would personally look into it, because to me, it's how I kind of handle my retirement type funds. It's a slower term growth, but I still have more than 10% returns a year. And like I said, people would kill for that. So yeah, I would definitely look into that if I were you, or just give it another thought, because it doesn't require much effort. It's a very low impact type trading strategy.
Chez, I have a question for you. So because you started off day trading, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you wanted to be a day trader, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what was the mind trick? How did you convince, because obviously that's where Diego is right now. He wants to be a day trader. He's focused on day trading. What did you do? How did you, I don't know, just make your mental landscape get over that hump to the fact of, let me just focus on the swing trading thing?
So I always, my attempt at swing trading, first off, was I'm not making money day trading, or at least I'm not consistent in any way, shape, or form to the point where I would believe in myself that if this was my only form of income, I'd be okay. So okay, I'll try the longer term time frame swing trading using advanced options. And here's the thing. It works. I've made money. That is the one style of my trading that has always been profitable. But don't get me wrong. I've taken, say, I make $2,000 in gains with this, advanced options. I've taken $1,000 out and put it into a cash account and tried to day trade. And guess what happens? Usually goes down 50%. And I'm like, well, I just lost $500. I'm still trying to day trade. But at some point, it just comes down to it's as simple as, where do I make money? Yeah. I make money trading advanced options. I lose money day trading. It doesn't mean I stop practicing. I have a 3-minute chart up right now for futures that I watch and utilize every single day. But that's not, I'm not so invested in it now. If I do poorly on this day trading, it's not a part of my identity. My trading is advanced options, and the real light switch for me was, it's just the one that makes me money. Simple as that. Nothing too hard. But at some point, I didn't want to keep setting money on fire.
Yeah, I mean, I never really thought about going into getting a margin account and just going through the advanced options in the swing trading perspective, because my goal was always to be a day trader, because I'm like, if I'm really good at this, I can just quit my job and do this full time. Again, illusions of grandeur. But the most fun I had was creating the trade plans. And most of the trade plans, looking back, that I created, they were really good swing trades. I mean, even just a few days swing trade. If I would have bought it Monday, sold it Thursday, I got around the PDT rule. But just with the, I think it was just more like, I need this money quicker. I need to be in control at all times.
So those voices.
Yep.
What I like to hear you have said, I don't even know what I like what you said. What am I trying to say here? And we're not going to edit this out. So let's see. What I like that you said
I like the point you made about
there you go. The statement you made that really caught my attention in the positive way was, I just found that I love to put together trade plans. And that's awesome, because that just shows you have a passion for more of the challenge rather than, it's not like you're totally laser focused in on the money. And just to harp back, that's basically what, if you love putting together trade plans, then I assure you the advanced option stuff is, I mean, talk about trade plans galore and just how fancy and intricate you can get things. I would highly recommend you look into it because, like you said, you would be doing good with day trading. And on top of this, let's just look at a worst case. You create a margin account. You absolutely, it's like the worst thing ever. You like, you know what? Somebody just ripped my toenails off. I mean, I can't stand this, swing trading with advanced options. Okay, well, all you got to do is convert your account back over to cash. Sure, maybe that requires a phone call or you got to, send in some sort of paperwork or something. But it's not like if you go to margin, you can never, ever go back to cash.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it would be worth at least the try based on what you said and kind of, you sound just like Ches. You want to be a day trader. You want to be a day trader. And that's great. I'm not saying you should give up on being a day trader, but like Ches said, well, what's making you money? Well, it sounds like would be making you money is if you take more of a swing trading type viewpoint. But that's just that's my 2 cents. I mean,
yeah, and I think that would curb my, my gamble high of like, oh, if, I need to be looking at this 20, every second. If it goes down, I need to click it. I think swing trading. That's looking back, creating the trade plans, knowing that if I would have just swing traded them instead of day trading them, it would have worked out for me. Because all my trades, I go back and see what ended up happening. I'd be like, okay, my heart was racing. I wasn't thinking clearly. And then, seeing my trade plan go the way I thought it was going to go is the best feeling ever, except I just wasn't a part of too many trades like that. But going back and looking at them like, oh, I was right. Oh, I was right. Oh, I was right.
Yeah, no, I can totally relate. Good old hindsight, but it sounds like you were being accurate in your hindsight, and things would have worked out had you just been part of it. But I think this is a good ending point here because I'm not really going to ask or request. I'm just going to tell you, Dago, you will be a guest again in the future, and you need to fill us in on kind of where you go from this jump off point. And is this pretty essentially where you're at right now in your journey?
Yeah, right now, obviously we actually did end up buying a rental property in Michigan.
Nice.
Yeah, so we have that
Upper Peninsula.
Yeah, Upper Peninsula.
Okay. Okay.
So that's going for us. We're saving. My wife really wants to get into real estate flipping, and I know you have a course for that, which
I do. Yep, on moneywithclay.com. Anyways,
yes, shameless plug.
Shame. You set me up for it. People are going to think that was all staged. I promise it wasn't. But, no, that's awesome. And flipping in California or in Michigan?
No. Yeah, I can't do this in California. It have to be in Michigan or one of my financial advisors or mentors. He has a couple of other areas that he wants me to look at that are fairly, good places to flip with little capital.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's not, but long distance flipping, unless you have somebody, would you use your wife's dad?
That's why I'm looking Michigan exclusively right now, because of that reason and that area.
Yeah, long distance investing sounds good in theory and spreadsheets, but there are lots of potential landmines just awaiting you. But if you have somebody that you trust, which I mean, it's your father-in-law, that may be enough of a game changer to make things realistic. But that would be my only 2 cents.
And we're there all the time too, like twice a year.
All right. Okay. Nice. Cool. All right. Well, like I said, we're definitely going to have you back so we can see kind of where you went from this point. I appreciate the candidness. I appreciate you not trying to come on here and making like, I got it all figured out. And now I'm, now I'm a real estate mogul in, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, but you kept it realistic.
I definitely wanted to say that everything that I did was all the fault of my own, had nothing to do with the knowledge that I thought I was, taking in. Everything I did was just based on Kool-Aid. It was based on greed, impatience. So, and again, I'm still discovering myself in that aspect of being a trader, how what what style works best for me. Um, I've been coming in and out of inner circle. I haven't really been commenting too much. I've just been lurking around, and but yeah, I want to get back into it. It's and it this time, I'm gonna definitely take the time, really slow down, um, look into the options, go through the options. Because I guess the first time I went through the options, the advanced options course, I was trying to pick out data for day trading and kind of ignoring any other data that I was getting.
Right, right. Well, it sounds like you got a plan. You know what you're doing, and like Clay and I said, I would highly suggest you at least take a look into the advanced options and just give them a whirl. See if they work well for me. Not everything works for everybody, but yeah, we have a lot of people who've kind of turned from trying to day trade into more swing trading and finding success, which is what we always want. But Diego, has been fantastic having you on. I
Yeah.
do know the real reason you came on was to borrow my time machine. So
Yes.
if I was to lend that to you and you can give yourself one piece of advice, not a buy or sell recommendation, what would that be?
Slow down. Um, that'd be the biggest one. It's just slow down. Markets will be there. You know, don't don't listen to the voices in your head. Don't get FOMO. That'd be the biggest advice. Is just to slow down. Just take a step back and slow down.
It's almost kind of like your time machine is in play right now, because since you're planning on restarting again, it's kind of like you're talking to yourself like right now. Like you still have a chance now to implement these exact things that you want to work on. So this is right, because you're going to plan on starting back up. So I mean, this is like
Yeah, I mean,
you need to only take the time machine basically back like a year, and then you're going to reapply what you just said starting right now. So this is because for a lot of people it's like too late. Well, I wish I would have known that. Well, now you know what you know now, so you know what to look for going forward.
Yeah.
Which is a good spot for you to be in. So that's interesting, because I was like, oh, he's kind of pretty much telling himself what he needs to do going forward when he restarts back up again. Now we got to move into the serious stuff, the fun questions. So Diego, what is your favorite movie?
So I've been thinking about this. I feel like a lot of people are going to hate me for saying this, and I don't know if it's cliche, but I'm a big soundtrack guy, and it has to be Forrest Gump.
Why would people hate you for that? That's definitely top 10
awesome
movie for
movie.
me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Every time I say my favorite movie is Forrest Gump, they always like, oh, of course. It's such a cliche thing to say. I'm like, I don't know. Growing up watching it, it's just been
Great movie.
Yeah, very nostalgic, especially all the songs on there. Great soundtrack. I have it on vinyl. I have it on my iPhone. So
Cool.
great
Awesome.
movie.
What about it's a fantastic movie. What about food and dessert? What are you trying to munch on?
Bubblegum shrimp.
Favorite food. I guess I don't. I'm kind of like Joey from Friends. It's just like sandwiches, honestly. Yesterday I made the best grilled cheese sandwich. The other day probably made one of the best BLT sandwiches. But the category of
cheese
sandwich
and bacon, you're killing me here.
I know. The category of sandwich is my favorite food. And then dessert, always going to be cheesecake.
No creme brulee, Clay?
Don't even get me started on that. Yeah. Anyways, no,
York
that
style
sounds
cheesecake.
like I had a sandwich. I don't eat sandwiches that much, but randomly I had one last night, and now you're bringing that up. So interesting. But are you a fan of Reuben sandwiches?
Any type of sandwich. You just
Anything? Okay.
I don't like
You're
mustard though. So
What? How can you love sandwiches but not like mustard? That's like
I've learned to
I don't know
adapt.
what that's.
You got to
I
learn to
guess so.
adapt.
You're good at rolling with the mustard punches, I guess.
Yeah.
Finally, what do you like to do outside of you can't say real estate, no trading, but what do you like to do hobby wise?
I'm actually picking up a hobby right now. Cigars, collecting cigars, smoking cigars. Process of buying a humidor right now, and getting some either diesels or some Rocky Patels. So
Cool. My one of my best friends growing up, he's kind of really big into that, and he's got a humidor and its own little space for it now, and yeah, he really enjoys it. So cool. And last question for me: if you had to pick 3 words that sum up successful trading, what would those 3 words be?
Patience. Let me think about this one. It'd be patience. Hold on.
The silence is killing me. This is intense right now. Anticipation.
I know. So patience. I guess what's the word for being able to handle emotion? Like
resilience. I don't know.
Composure.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Patience, composure. Sorry, my baby's crying in the other room.
No problem.
Hold on. I know this is going to be edited in post-production, so.
Oh, she's fine. You can, or do you have to go tend to her?
No, him? I mean, I just need one more word.
I got one for you if you need.
What is it?
I would say awareness, because you know what the greed voices sound like. You know a lot. It's just, are you going to be aware enough of them? Either awareness or acknowledgement, meaning you need to acknowledge what's actually going on. So when the greed voice shows back up, you need to acknowledge that it's the greed voice. So therefore, you need to be able to fight it off. That would be my suggestion.
Okay. So yeah, the three words would be patience, composure, and awareness, for being aware of the voices going on in your head. Composure, just to be able to file out the emotion that's running through a trade, and then patience for getting rid of FOMO and doing your, sticking to your trade plan.
And as far as I'm concerned, is it a baby girl or boy?
I have a baby girl.
Your baby girl was flat out. That's why she was making noise. She was agreeing with you. She was rooting you on. So she concurs, and we all concur with you. But Diego, thank you very much for hanging out. As I already mentioned, I'm not requesting. I'm not going to ask. I'm going to tell you. You will be back on the show at some point in the future, so that we can continue on in this journey with you and see how things continue to progress. But thank you again for taking time out of your day. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what future unfolds, and thanks for having me.
You bet. And again, thank you for taking time out of your work schedule. Now, before we go, for you listeners out there, a final few things. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure to check out the channel as a whole. There are plenty of other videos other than these podcasts. There's live trades, there's a vlog, there's quick tip videos, all sorts of different things. As an example, one vlog, since we did talk about swing trading and options, I followed Ches around for a day when we were out in Colorado, and he kind of just walks us through how he approaches the day as a swing trader of options. So that's just one example of the vlog that kind of pertains to this, but you can find all those on the YouTube channel. If you're listening on iTunes or any of the other podcast players, make sure to subscribe so you know when there's new content. And also on iTunes, if you could leave us a rating, that helps us out a whole lot, and we really appreciate it. And finally, if you're listening at claytrader.com on the show notes page, leave us a comment, hit that share button. We will interact with you. We pride ourselves on that. So yeah, leave us a comment, and you will get a reply. So thank you again to our esteemed co-host Ches. Thank you to Diego, and thank you to you as listeners. We'll see you back next week.
This has been the Stock Trading Reality Podcast. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. To learn more about Clay and the Clay Trader community, including the trading team, premium training, and more, visit claytrader.com.